Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to today's exclusive session on Economy and Markets, the Road Ahead. It's indeed a pleasure and privilege to have amidst us Shri Navneet Munot, Chairman, Association of Mutual Funds in India, AMFI, Managing Director and Chief Executive Officer, HDFC Asset Management Company Limited. Shri Munot will be addressing today's exclusive session. May I now request President of the Chamber, Mr. Naresh Vachesia, to kindly welcome Shri Munot with a bouquet of flowers. May we have a huge round of applause welcoming Shri Munot to today's exclusive session organized by Bharat Chamber of Commerce. May I now request Mr. Vachesia to commence today's session with his welcome address.
Thank you. Navneet ji, my colleagues in the committee, members of the chamber, guests and friends. It gives me immense pleasure in welcoming you all to today's exclusive session on Economy and Markets, the Road Ahead. Being addressed by my good friend Shri Navneet Munot, Chairman, Association of Mutual Funds in India, AMFI, and Managing Director and CEO of HDFC Asset Management Company. Navneet ji, it's indeed my pleasure and privilege to welcome you to Bharat Chamber today, and thank you so much for sparing some time out of your busy schedule to address the members of our chamber at a time when we are celebrating our 125th anniversary. I'm grateful to you for accepting my request and agreeing to share your profound knowledge and insights on this highly relevant subject. It's so nice of him that I met him in June first week or second week, and exactly 1 month from there, he is here with us. So that was very, very nice of you. Thank you. Friends, it is difficult to describe the importance of someone like Shri Navneet Munot addressing us on this subject. Someone under whose stewardship at HDFC Mutual Fund, about 7.5 lakh crore of public assets are being managed. Institutional, corporate, household savings, your money, my money. This is roughly 10% of India's entire mutual fund industry. This is a huge fiduciary responsibility that he carries on his shoulders. And still, it is with so much of humility that when I met him last in June, I was telling him, we tracked our relationship 3 decades back and we said, आपसे मैं उस समय मिला था, and he could trace it back a couple of more years, exactly the context in which we met and where did we meet. So that's the elephantine memory that you have. Talking of the mutual fund industry, Navneet ji is currently chairman of an industry association, AMFI, which collectively manage about 75 lakh crores of public assets. This is roughly 31% of India's bank deposits, up from 13% just a decade back. I distinctly remember when my company started mutual fund advisories way back in 1996, total mutual fund AUM ex UTI Navneet ji was less than 10,000 crores. Today, there are 175 individual mutual fund schemes having an AUM of more than 10,000 crores. From 10,000 crores to 75 lakh crores in less than 30 years. What a journey. Further, about 8.6 crore SIPs bring in over 27,000 crores every month, and about 23.5 crore investor accounts invested in mutual funds, which is roughly 17% of India's population. Navneet ji, it appears that mutual funds sahi mein sahi hai. Ladies and gentlemen, it may be interesting to know that mutual funds sahi hai is perhaps the most popular and influential slogan ever in Indian advertising history. And this has come from MFI, an industry association, and not an FMCG company or a business or something like that. This is very, very remarkable. Today's topic is economy and markets, the road ahead. Since we have a veteran expert speaker who has played the roles of a research analyst, fund manager, chief investment officer at one of India's leading asset management companies, I can name it SBI Mutual Fund. Uh, before taking up the current responsibility, I shall keep my customary opening remarks very brief so that we get more time to listen to Navneet ji. The topic could not have been more timely. We are truly living in a VUCA world, volatile, uncertain, complex, and ambiguous. Three issues highlights this best. Geopolitical issues, globally including India, were heightened and made maximum headlines during the last few months. World Peace Index is at its lowest in the 21st century, and this is already having and will continue to have a profound impact on global mobility of men and material. Disturbed logistics potentially slow down overall economic growth, but post-war demand shoots up. What the future has in store, perhaps Navneet ji can say. My line is only time will tell. Tariff issues share global headlines with geopolitics and have created an environment which the world has never witnessed and therefore is neither used to nor prepared for. It has skewed short term demand supply, impacting prices and fortunes. Uncertainty prevails. Global economic growth is in the slow lane at about 2.5% amidst uncertainty hanging over global economy. Countries across the globe are trying to keep their economies shielded. In this backdrop, India is like an oasis. Weathering the storm well, as per the world's fastest growing large economy, growing and projected to grow at 6.5% roughly. As per RBI's bulletin, various high frequency indicators are showing resilience. Inflation staying below RBI's target of 4% made RBI focus to support growth by slashing policy rates by 0.5% recently. We now wait for domestic demand improvement. Government capex continues to be in the fast lane, but consumer demand and private capex have been in slow lane. Structural reforms have been carried out over the years, but much more needs to be done. In this context, I would request Navneet ji to share his thoughts on the economy, its outlook, and what can be done for superior growth. He may also throw some light on the trends that he foresees or sees or foresees in the mutual fund industry and give us some idea about shape of things to come. Navneet ji is a keen observer of investor behavior. It would be nice if he could share some of these observations and thoughts which could be beneficial for us. This session, I believe, comes at a moment when clarity and guidance are most needed for the capital markets. So I would leave with these words. I would now request Shri Navneet Munot to share his insights on the evolving dynamics of Indian economy and capital markets. Thank you. Over to you, Navneet ji. Oh yeah.
Thank you so much. What a pleasure and honor to be here. I'm here for three reasons. In reverse order, I'm giving. So first is, I always love to be in Calcutta. Unlike a lot of other people in Mumbai who think otherwise, I think this city has a charm like no other city. This city has a charm. It's a city where you see the confluence of culture, commerce, and I should say conscience. And you cannot say the same in the same breath, these three words for many other cities. This is a city where time stops. And when time stops, time take stock of itself. And that's why the culture, the literature, the things have flourished for hundreds of years. There is a reason why this city produces Nobel Prize winners, why this produces outstanding writers and painters and sculpturist and all of that. There is something very unique about it. There is something in the coffee that gets sold here. There is something in the sandesh here. There is something in the puchka here. There is no doubt about it. And I love this. We were just discussing with Alokji a few minutes back in the other room that a lot of people have this perception about how the commerce gets done, but there are people who have been running business for several years and they find it very good. But I'm sure it has a long way to go. It has a long way to go. Requires few more things, and I'm sure at some stage it'll regain the glory that it used to have several decades back. The second is such an honor to be part of the chamber event in its 125th year. So what an I would say compliments to each one of you for being part of such an illustrious institution, and it's an honor for me to be part of you on at this particular time. And third, the most important is Naresh is a very dear friend, and he was in our office and he talked about I've taken as president, and I just looked at the list of all the presidents who have been there since 1900 and realized that this is the first time somebody from the capital market is leading a business chamber here. And so I said, no, I'll be even more keen. And of course, I think our friendship goes back 30 years, and we were recollecting some of the moments in early 90s. We have seen together the transformation that Indian capital markets have seen and a lot of other common connects. By the way, it's 30th year of MFI this year, 30th year of Association of Mutual Funds in India. And I found out from our people that your company is ARN number 6. Number 5 is HDFC Bank. So Naresh has been part of our industry for the longest period, and thank you for everything, and great to be with all of you. As I said, on the economy and the markets road ahead, the world is, and you use the right word, VUCA. I mean, it sounds very like cliched. World is volatile, uncertain. By the way, on capital markets, I see Ajit ji sitting here. I'm in the veteran, and of course, Ajay is currently the chairman of this side of the NB and spoken at many NB events, etc. And Kolkata Stock Exchange, if I remember correctly, was also set up in early 20th century, right? 1906 or so. And I was asking him a few minutes back that would like to see that building again. I've seen that building in action and would like to see that building. तो उन्होंने ऐसे ही मजाक में बोला अभी चाय बहुत अच्छी मिलती है वहाँ. So I said everybody knows that Calcutta chai, you cannot have any destination wedding without that these days. But of course, it had a charm. And I remember early 90s when I joined the market, I used to do like for my organization, a lot of arbitrage, and then Calcutta Stock Exchange was like a very important part of what we were doing. And there is a glorious history of capital markets here, and there is very important that we understand the linkages between the capital market, the growth of the country in the widest, and I'll come to that in the widest sense, and the businesses. And India is one of those unique countries in the world. It hasn't happened in, and it may sound like we know it, but we don't know it. India is very unique in many ways. It has happened in United States. It has happened in very few countries. For last 30 years, our nominal GDP has grown around 10-11%. Our corporate profits have grown a similar, a little higher than that. Our stock market has returned, or market cap has grown at, let's say, around 12-13%, depending on which starting year you are taking one or two here and there. I hope you get the point over 3 decades. And you have mutual fund industry, which has delivered higher than that. Now, what does this show is you have an economy which has, for a long period, has been growing at a pretty decent rate. You have a corporate sector which is able to convert that growth into their revenues and their profits. Again, it's very interesting. It hasn't happened in many parts of the world. And you have a stock market, because we have a long history of capital markets. I'll come to that. You have a stock market which has converted the growth of businesses into market capitalization. And you have a mutual fund industry where even with 1,000 rupees per month, somebody has got that return, which the businesses collectively were making, and mutual fund could deliver better because we could like select stocks better. So let's say if Calcutta is known for, let's say, whether it's jute, textiles, many things, you are in seeds, many other businesses here. Some of them did well, some of them didn't do well. So businesses that were maybe kind of like not doing well, avoiding them, businesses that were doing well, betting on them, we could deliver even better. Now it's very interesting. In the history of the world, there are very few countries have done something like this. So what it means is that over the next 20, 30 years, as India grows, we will be able to make growth a lot more inclusive because capital markets are in this form. And what we are trying to do is that in the industry, that even if you put 500 rupees per month, and in SDFC, one can start the journey with 100 rupees per month, even with 100 rupees per month, you will exactly get the returns. I mean, hopefully better in active funds. You will get the return that all the businesses collectively are generating, and businesses are collectively able to reap the benefit of what collectively the economy is doing. Now, I give you another parallel with that. So, in last 30 years, highest growing economy in the world is China. But if you look at 30 years return of China stock market, it is low single digit, highest growing economy in the world, and lowest, one of the lowest returns in the equity market, because growth was not driven by the entrepreneurs like you. Growth was not driven by the businesses like you. And as this market becomes larger and larger and larger, and I'll tell you why I strongly believe that our markets would become larger. We are almost like we're almost there at fourth largest economy in the world, fourth largest stock market in the world with close to $5 trillion of market cap, and that number is going to increase. The ability of businesses, ability, so India is a country of savers, so large number of people saving money, we channelizing into the capital market, and businesses take that, the long-term capital get accessed by the businesses, and they deliver this growth. This is what makes the growth cycle a very, very virtuous cycle. Ensure that on one side, the growth gets created by the entrepreneurs. On another side, the capital market does it so beautifully that it spreads the growth to millions of people over a period of time. This is very interesting. And again, as I said, and I can give you many examples, but in the interest, I'll just leave it there. The point that just shows the a very different kind of growth that's happening in the India. And that's why I complimented you, and maybe at the right time, to have a president from the capital market, because there are very, very deep linkages to ensure that our growth is sustained, growth becomes a virtuous cycle, and over a period of time, ensure that in a democratic setup, we make that growth more sustainable and more inclusive, and capital markets will play a very, very big role in that. On a very lighter note, I say that my grandfather lived in a country where India had to import wheat under PL 480. And I'm sure if I see the age group on this table, everybody knows what I mean. The wheat which was the leftover of United States was came here, and Lal Bahadur Shastri said, if Wednesday, right, that egg milk Monday एक time खाना खाइए so that wheat बच जाएगा. And my father, I remember, used to say that as a young person, he continued that even after Shastri ji. So my grandfather lived in a country where we had to get wheat from United States on a humanitarian ground. My father lived in a country where foreign grant was very important, and we would have buzzed on many terms because we wanted foreign aid and foreign grant. I lived in a country where for every entrepreneur, almost every large entrepreneur, if he had big ambition, had to rely on foreign capital, both on the equity side, debt side. Startup capital, 90% of the capital is by foreigners invested in all of these large startups that you hear, which have become billions of dollars. This all capital has come from outside. And our own case, like SDFC Group, which is among the top 10 or so in terms of market cap in the world, but a lot of like foreigners have been an investor because we had to rely on that for large capital. My son is living in a country where we are supplying capital to Korea. And many other are lying up. What a transformation capital markets have like kind of shown, and over a period of time. And now our Prime Minister has got a big vision for, building the gift city. As SDFC, we have set up a wholly owned subsidiary. We own an office here. We have got 5 products there. Because I strongly believe that over the next 20, 30 years, when we become 20, $30 trillion economy, the way world looks at New York today, because that's the place where capital gets raised, and everybody has to go. You look at London, you look at Singapore, you look at Hong Kong. But when we become such a large economy and such a large capital market, should India not have aspiration to create a London or New York type of global financial center, and then from a regulatory perspective, ensure that anybody in the world can come and raise capital, anybody in the world can come and deploy capital. And that's a linkages, and I can go on in the topic, but I'll take a pause on that part of the importance of the capital market, that this is not only about making the growth cycle virtuous, this is not only about supporting the growth momentum of the country, which is also about making the growth more inclusive and more sustainable. On the economy, I always make this point that over the next 25 years, as Prime Minister talks about the word Amrit Kal, over the next 25 years, India will create an economic miracle. India will create an economic miracle which is unparalleled in human history. We will do something which human history has never witnessed. And that miracle is our growth from $3-4 trillion to $30 trillion, our per capita GDP from 2,500 to may say few $1,000s per capita. It is not about that. It is not about a journey from an emerging country to the developed country. It is a journey of a country creating that kind of growth and becoming developed, but making that a lot more democratic. And I'm using 4 words, and give me any parallel in the human history. Growth more democratic, more sustainable, more equitable, and more inclusive. These 4 words, you go back in human history and see the countries that have grown from a frontier economy to an emerging economy to a developed country, and they could claim that, yeah, we were very democratic. It happened in a very democratic manner. The federal structure that we have got in a very democratic manner. We did it in a very sustainable manner. We did it in a very equitable manner. We did it in a very inclusive manner. And this is very, very unique. And when I use the word equitable or sustainable, sometimes people think that looks like a very socialist model, and where is the scope for wealth creation? And people forget that it's India which taught capitalism to the world. It's the India which taught the origin of capitalism is here in this country. If you know the word and all of these people, and that's why I'm saying this with deep sense of respect towards all of you who are the wealth creators of this country, the word Seth came from the word Shrest. The word Seth came from the word Shrest. The person who's the Shrest in the town is called Seth. If you look at Sahukar, if you look at Chettiar, these are the people who are the business people. The Vaishya community is the one, and the every king, every emperor had a deep respect for the largest merchant, the largest exporter, the largest industrialist of those types. Maybe industries were in different form. Their deep respect, and every single empire that would have done well in India's history, 5,000 years, in every single corner of the country. I come from Rajasthan. I come from the state of Bhamasha, and I'm sure all of you know, so I don't have to explain that. And I'm sure every part of the country you know that, because this country revered wealth creation. This is a country which said that these are the people who create jobs. These are the people who create economic activity. These are the people who create resources for the government to ensure there is sovereignty, there is protection, there is expansion of the state, there is right kind of dharma that is done, and businesses are linked with the dharma. So right from you go back in Chanakya, you go back like any period, and I can quote from any place in any way that how businesses, how the industrialists have been revered of generation to generation to generation. And despite 1,000 years of foreigners' rule, that did not change. This is something in our blood. And when people talk about the capital markets, when I travel outside, we are a listed company as SDFC AMC, and people talk about, the early days of financial markets, early days of capital market. I remember I was speaking at first one place and I said, do you know about the 1860 bull market in India? तो जो पुराने होते हैं मार्केट में फॉरेनर्स जो 90s में आए मॉर्गन स्टैनली वगैरह उन सबको 92 का बुल मार्केट पता है किसी किसी को अजीत जी बैठे हैं तो 85 वाला बुल मार्केट भी पता होगा सारी टेक्सटाइल कंपनियां हीरो होंडा इन सब की लिस्टिंग हुई सुजुकी टीवीएस सुजुकी एंड ऑल दैट but people don't know about 1860 and I tell them that you don't know the history of capital markets in India and the linkages and the importance of businesses. So in 1860s there was a famine and there was a the crop failure of cotton in United States. People in Mumbai and of course, I mean there would be interlinkages within the country, but people in Mumbai and all exported a lot of cotton to United States. Prices went up. They made a lot of money. When the money came back, there was a big boom in real estate. A lot of those companies got listed. So it was not it was the pre-Bombay Stock Exchange, the native share and stockbroker under Banyan Tree and Ford. So it goes back 1860s what 150 साल हो गए right अजीत जी तो हमारी वो history and I always tell people I come from Byawar in Rajasthan. I don't know how many of you know the place. Actually आप लोग जानते होंगे because Shree Cement is there मांगू जी की जगह है so the when the options market came and I was part of like with my boss supporting him and like creating some of the work on the regulation etc on derivatives and all of that and I was telling them मेरे को book पढ़ने की जरूरत नहीं है because the only difference is I'm talking the words like Black-Scholes you're telling me volatility Vega Rho Gamma and all of that but my grandfather in 1920s and 30s has done exactly this. I mean, they understood like Poonam to Poonam how the settlement happens. They knew exactly what people are saying, straddle and strangle. ये तो हमारी गलती है कि हमने जेन स्ट्रीट को इतना पैसा दे दिया देखो हमारे से ज्यादा कोई समझता नहीं है सो ये तो लॉजिकली इंडिया में ही रहना चाहिए था इंडियंस इतनी मिस्टेक कैसे कर सकते हैं बिकॉज cotton has been getting traded for hundreds of years in the same manner. Exactly what the option market is. Bullion is getting traded exactly in the same manner. Jute has been getting traded exactly in the same manner. Oil seeds have been getting traded in the same manner for hundreds of years. So actually, but unfortunately, हमने वो किताबें नहीं लिखी, वर्ल्ड ने नहीं पढ़ी है. But मैं कई जगह बोलता रहता हूँ that as a what Prime Minister keeps saying of leadership of Global South, कि अब जो नई डेवलप कंट्री बनेगी हमारे बाद वाली सीरीज में वो सब हमारी बुक्स पढ़ेगी कि हमने ये किया था 1980s में 90s में 2000s में then we'll give the reference to the hundreds of years back. I'll keep it very short and we'll keep it open depending on your interest. आप किसी भी आपको whatever about the world, about market, anything in particular you have interest so that we keep it more interactive rather than me giving a long monologue. But I wanted to set this context of that I wanted to compliment you for having someone from the capital market and having some of the stalwarts on the table. Simply, there are deep linkages between these two, and for our growth, it is very critical. I just tell you another interesting thing that he talked about the SIP number. So our industry today last month का number है 27,200 crore per month in SIP book. That is more than $3 billion a month. अगर आप पूरा साल का आप कैलकुलेट करोगे तो ये बन जाता है $38 billion. $38 billion coming into the mutual fund industry. I don't think since early 90s when foreigners started investing, there has been any year where they invested $38 billion in the country. This is something outstanding that has happened and all of us in the industry take deep pride in what we have done. A lot of credit to the regulators what they have done, policymakers what they have done, and I think it's a track record we have built. Like we have a lot of fund houses like ours, we have funds, our SDFC FlexiCap fund, and going back 30 years. So we've got 30-year track record. The transparency that we have built when I travel outside, we as MFI we signed an MOU last year, not this year actually, on 26 January when Indonesian president was in India on 26 January, Republic Day with MFI's counterpart of Indonesia. And they were positively surprised by the kind of transparency we have, the kind of work that we have done on financial literacy, the kind of regulation which is there, the kind of governance that we have put in place. It's a technology that we are using. It took us 23 years for HDFC AMC to get 65 lakh investors, unique investors at PAN level. In last 2 years, we have added 65 lakh investors. So 65 lakh investors in 23 years. Last 2 years, 65 lakh investors. There's the power of the technology. But the thing that we really take pride as MFI is what we are doing on financial literacy. And thank you, Naresh ji, for complimenting on the mutual fund. Sahi hai. The messaging has been very, very powerful. Of course, I must say that we keep highlighting our industry is very I would say responsible and constantly highlighting the risk attached with it. अगर आप इंडिया में सर्वे करोगे और लोगों को पूछोगे म्यूचुअल फंड के बारे में तो वो दो चीज एकदम बता सकते हैं आपको. सबसे पहला म्यूचुअल फंड सही है. दूसरा म्यूचुअल फंड्स आर सब्जेक्ट टू मार्केट रिस्क. प्लीज रीड द ऑफर डॉक्यूमेंट केयरफुली. एंड मैं मतलब हंस नहीं रहा हूँ बट ये सही बात है क्योंकि हमारी इंडस्ट्री द अमाउंट ऑफ ट्रांसपेरेंसी वी बिलीव इन द वे वी हाईलाइट द रिस्क is very, very exceptional. And we always believe ultimately, if it is good for the investor, it will be good for us in the long run. We have to build the industry in the right manner. Now, the impact on businesses of this $38 billion. So if you add money from NPS, from EPFO, from insurance companies, from other institutions, and investors like you who are investing directly, this goes above $50-60 billion every year. Now think about it. अभी ऑन अ लाइटर नोट आप बोलोगे कि अगर इतना पैसा आएगा तो मार्केट बहुत ऊपर चला जाएगा फिर तो. पर ऐसा नहीं होता है बिकॉज व्हाट विल हैपन, दिस सप्लाई ऑफ मनी will create lot of demand of money, will create lot of demand for paper. Sorry, the demand of paper from our side will create lot of supply of papers. This will arouse the ambition of lot of entrepreneurs that we can raise large amount of money from the capital market domestically without even going outside. Of course, I would say India also needs a lot of foreign capital, and we will get a lot of foreign capital. We have got a lot. We will have even bigger going forward with all the structural factors in place. But this will ensure that if capital markets provide a stable source of money, a lot of new businesses, which historically, because India was capital deficient, and now it is no longer, a small savings of 500 and 1,000 rupees per month becoming $38 billion, which maybe over a period of time will become 50, 60, $70 billion. Imagine what it can do to for thriving of businesses in India, variety of businesses, the risk, I would say, seeking that can come from the entrepreneurs and what it can do to the growth. And that's why I thought I'll just talk about the linkages and why the capital market is so important for growth of the businesses. I just take a pause and maybe hear from you any other thing. And Mr. Yeah, I said Mr. Confused Markets, right again. So whenever ask me बाजार क्या लगता है, मैं कभी भी कुछ भी बोल दूं ना इंडिया के लिए 25 साल उसके बाद भी लास्ट में बाजार क्या लगता है, and I see some of the गुजराती बंगाली हियर, कोई भी कॉन्वर्सेशन होगा तो सबसे पहले सारा कॉन्वर्सेशन हो जाएगा लाइक ऑल द लाइक आई मीन डिक्रीनो लगन खरीदो, प्लॉट ली दो, सब कुछ हो जाएगा. श्रीनाथ जी, पालीताना, सब कुछ हो जाएगा डिस्कशन. उसके बाद में लास्ट में कॉन्वर्सेशन तब तक एंड नहीं होगा जब तक लेवा मसू. सो इनका भी आ गया लेवा मासूम. सो कोई भी मेरे को पूछता है कभी भी बाजार क्या लगता है, तो मेरा फ्रेमवर्क ऐसा है, हम लोग ऐसे सोचते हैं दैट चार चीजें देखते हैं, इन चारों को एक साथ देखना चाहिए तब आप बेटर व्यू ले पाओगे. नहीं तो क्या होगा कि एट दैट पॉइंट इन टाइम, एंड अभी इतना इंफॉर्मेशन ओवरलोड है, सपोज समथिंग इज हैपनिंग इन यूएस, suppose some government announcement is there, suppose there is some policy of RBI, something has got announced, and we start thinking like that, depending on FPI inflow, outflow, or some or the other data points, and we start forming a view on the market. The way I look at it, it'll take exactly 5 minutes. The first is a macro, where we are in the macro. So if I talk about the Indian macro, globally, I mean, we can discuss till cows come home, but to be very honest, all I would say is the world we are in, all I can say about the world is continuity of uncertainty. The only thing I can say with certainty is continuity of uncertainty. We are indeed in a VUCA world. It is unlikely to change, but beyond a point, this analysis won't really lead to something because we have no idea what US president is going to do tomorrow. We can only speculate. And there are so many things changing in the world, and Naresh articulated few of them, whether it's a geopolitical risk, the technological disruptions that are happening, the many things that are happening in the world, the way whole supply chains are getting disrupted. But the more I think about the world, the more I look at the world, and the more I feel positive about India. I think if you look at India, we have got political stability, we've got macroeconomic stability, we've got financial stability, and we've got social stability. Very, very unique. And tell me one country in the world where you can use all these four words in one breath and say, हाँ ये country में भी है. आप मेरे को एक country सोच के बता दीजिए. You also travel everywhere in the world. You also have businesses in different parts. You have also track the whole world. There's no country this has. And I think ultimately we'll be a beneficiary. We will surely get impacted. If there is a recession in US tomorrow, if US interest rates go up because he's going to increase tariffs and this leads to higher inflation, flows come down, it will impact India either through trade channel or through flow channel, through some or the other channel. We will get impacted, but we'll get less impacted than what historically we have been. History में ऐसा बोलते थे कि if the global economy sneeze or if US market sneeze, India will get a fever. But it is no longer the case. अभी last few years से तो बाकी सबको fever है, हमारे को अभी तक छींक भी नहीं आई है. So touchwood, thanks to policy prudence, thanks to agile execution, thanks to resilience of domestic investors, thanks to effective communication by our policymakers, and you see the conversation between US president and the Fed chairman, you cannot visualize that anything like that can ever happen in India. Never. The respect for institutions that we have in a democratic system in India, I mean, there may be difference of opinions between two institutions, two governments, state or center. You may have many things, but they sit on one table and then talk to each other in a very, very nice manner, in a very elegant manner. So world का मैं यही बोलूंगा कि the more I look at the world, I feel relatively positive. But if the things kind of like, let's say, geopolitical risk, if this war takes an ugly shape, in some manner it can impact. If oil prices go up because if let's say the things get murky in Middle East, it will impact India because we are one of the largest importer of crude oil. But otherwise, थोड़ा ठीक लग रहा है इंडिया में. I think from a balance sheet perspective, both the banking sector and corporate sector have never been like as good as they are today. Banking balance sheets are in a great shape. Corporate balance sheets are in an outstanding shape. You look at the external sector, foreign exchange reserves over 700 billion rupees. Rupee has been one of the most stable currencies in the world. Rupee has been one of the most stable currencies in the world. RBI has been, from a policy perspective, driving towards, supporting growth. They cut interest rate. They are cutting CRR. By the way, India is the only country where 10-year yield has fallen by 100 basis point in last 1 year or so. In US Fed, they cut by 100 basis point. It has hardly had any impact on the bond yields. In UK, they cut interest rate. They are not able to bring down bond yields. In Germany, they have cut by much higher. I mean, I think 200 basis point or so, but the German bond yields are not coming down. India is one where RBI has cut interest rates. Bond yield has kind of like come down. So from a policy perspective, from a balance sheet perspective, from a financial sector perspective, I think overall macro looks good. Growth had slowed down a bit, but hopefully should start recovering. The second part is the corporate profitability, and I won't talk about this quarter result or this year. You have far better handle than me. Every day, everybody reads result season has already started. We had 3 years of 20% corporate profit growth. This year was maybe a year of consolidation on a very high base. Nifty had I would say a low single digit growth. In the first 6 months, you will see maybe a muted growth, but in the second half of the year, growth should start picking up. And over the next couple of years, the corporate profit growth should be more or less in line with the nominal GDP growth. So if nominal GDP 7 plus 4 or so, take 1% here and there, grows at 11% or so, corporate profit at an aggregate level should grow at that pace. There will be few sectors will be driving, there will be few sectors will be growing less, but at an aggregate level, that should be the case. The third factor for when you ask me, bazaar kya lagta hai, is the liquidity and sentiments. So दो investors हैं, एक domestic investor है, एक foreign investor है. Foreign investor in last couple of years has sold quite a bit. They have gone underweight India for variety of reasons. But I think from these levels, if the growth picks up, and valuations don't go up substantially from here, I think we should see over a period of time higher interest from the foreign investors, because relatively growth momentum is better in India. The quality of balance sheet is better in India. Quality of businesses, newer businesses are getting listed. And I tell you interesting things. So last, सबको ऐसा लगता है लास्ट 3-4 साल से foreigners ने काफी बेचा है. But if you look at calendar 2024, the amount of selling they did in the secondary market, similar amount they bought in the primary market. तो कुछ बेच रहे हैं, कुछ और खरीद भी रहे हैं. And as a lot of newer companies get listed, you see the anchor list, you see the IPO investors, you find a lot of large investors in the same month where there has been selling in the secondary market. Domestic, I've already talked about. I won't say more in terms of the flows that are coming. So I think domestic flows over the next several years should be like the predominant factor in driving the market. But on the foreign side, looking at where their positioning is in Indian market, I don't expect like large amount of continued selling. Of course, if valuations go up much, if you don't see much supply of primary supply, then of course maybe there is less amount of money coming in. But मेरे को ऐसा लग रहा है that given the flow of money in market, supply will also catch up. You will have more and more IPO, more and more private equity, venture capital exiting through the secondary market. Some of the MNCs are diluting, some of the promoters are diluting to invest in other businesses or for other things. So maybe वो match हो जाएगा शायद. The last but not the least important is the valuation. So अभी आपका whatever बड़ा बाजार में शॉप है या जहाँ भी बेस्ट हाउस है, सब कुछ अच्छा है. जैसा मैंने बोला, मैक्रो प्रॉफिट एवरीथिंग सब कुछ अच्छा है, बट somebody has to put check on the table, then only value है, बाकी उसकी वैल्यू नहीं है, right? So a valuation is where that's for the relevant for the liquidity. I made that point on the flat versus market, but on the valuation is where I think a lot of the good things that I said are also priced in the market, because the world knows that macro is good. World knows that balance sheets are in great shape. World knows that from a policy perspective, we are moving in the right direction. Investors have this faith for the long run. If I split the market from a valuation perspective between large, mid, and small cap, so what my fund manager says, HDFC AMC tells me that large caps, where on a relative basis, are slightly higher or more or less in line with the long-term average. If you take the, let's say in few months time, people will start looking at FY27, then I think the valuations are reasonable looking at the growth prospects. In small caps, the advantage is that you have a very large universe, hundreds of companies, and at the index level ka itna importance nahi hai PE ka, to be very honest, because at any point in time you get interesting companies to choose from. Mid cap is where there the whole universe is 150 stocks. हमारा जो म्यूचुअल फंड्स में है, we look at the top 100 as large cap, the next 150 as mid cap, everything else is small cap, because that universe is 150, and that's where valuations are relatively higher than the longer term average. But again, the point I made about you can always do the right selection. Whenever people ask too much about कि Sensex का PE या BSE 100 का PE या ये कुछ, तो मैं हमेशा उनको बोलता हूँ कि on a very lighter note that the concept of mean or concept of average is one of the best and the worst invention of humankind. It's like putting one human body half in freeze and half in like oven, and आप बोलो 98.3 है, but वो person won't survive, उसका relevance नहीं है. You have stocks which are like very reasonably valued, and you have stocks which are like crazily valued. You have to buy stocks what you like. So a lot of these averages don't matter beyond a point, but it just gives you an indication where the market is. So that's in nutshell. Maybe I took more than 5 minutes to yeah.
I'm sure you would have taken more than 15 minutes also, no complaints would have been there. Friends, give him a big hand, please, for such a lovely presentation he did, and set the context for the interactive session. I tried to slip in a slip, trying to circumvent and write very, very politely. इस seat पे बैठ के I can't ask him tips. So the way I had to put it was, can you please?
We can give you one.
Yeah.
HDFC Flexicare Fund.
So I tried to put in and can you remove the question mark or kind of Mr. Confused Markets, मतलब बहुत ये ठीक उसमें से समझ गए, बोले वही बाजार कैसा लगता है बता रहे हूँ. तो ये है. I think before we open up for the interactive session, Navneet ji, with your experience, all these are fine, but one factor that ultimately defines us as whether we are a successful investor or not is our own behavior. Okay.
Yeah.
So, as they say that investment success is not equal to investor success.
Yeah.
Okay. So, in that context, would you like to share some of your thoughts, observations, experiences that you would have had?
Yeah. So I gave you that I didn't give that data, but we keep quoting, like, let's say if you look at several of our funds which have been there in existence for 25, 30 years, and Naresh ji, you rightly mentioned that there are very not every investor has made that experience simply because at some point in time they would have got swayed either by the greed or by the fear at different points in time. So let's say money got multiplied so much over a 30-year period. We keep quoting this, that if somebody did an SIP of 10,000 rupees per month 31 years back, today that amount is 20 crores. Now with sense of responsibility, because I quoted returns of a long period, I have to say this, and I must say this, that mutual funds are subject to market risk. Please read the offer document carefully. Past returns are no indication or guarantee of future returns, because there was an environment, rates were also very high, inflation was high. But what it shows is the power of compounding. What it shows is the power of discipline. Just remain disciplined and remain invested in the market and didn't get swayed. Had the faith in the country, had the faith in the business sector of this country, had the faith in the right fund manager, you could create that kind of wealth without doing much, just having the discipline. But not many people have that discipline, and that's why the difference between the fund return and the investor return is very large. The three large, I think it was Charles Ellis or somebody said that the three mistakes that investors make and you need to avoid, one is the peer pressure. वो हमेशा, मतलब श्वेतांग को लगता है कि सुनील जी ने ज्यादा पैसा बना लिया, सुनील जी को लगता है कि अच्युत जी ने ज्यादा पैसा बना लिया कहीं ना कहीं, एंड देन वी गेट स्वेड बाय ईच अदर. आवर बेंचमार्क शुड बी आवर ओन गोल, आवर ओन whatever investments, and not somebody else's investment. And that peer pressure is what leads to investors making a lot of mistakes. The second is the media noise. And today, the media noise, I'm not talking about the newspapers or the. मैं तो ब्यावर में रहता था, और जब 80s में हम इन्वेस्ट करते थे तो हमारे इकोनॉमिक टाइम्स 2 दिन बाद में आता था. सो मंडे का इकोनॉमिक टाइम्स हमारे को वेडनेसडे सुबह मिलता था. ट्यूसडे शाम को मिल गया तो भी बहुत बड़ी बात है. तो आप सोचो, आप मंडे सुबह आप सोच रहे हो कुछ और आप थर्सडे का भाव देख रहे हो तो भी फर्क नहीं पड़ता था. एंड अभी लाइक वो इंस्टेंट हो गया. तभी लाइक वो एक ही दूरदर्शन चैनल था, उसके बाद अभी आपको 24/7 चैनल है. अब चैनल तो छोड़ दीजिए, पेपर छोड़ दीजिए, बट आप ट्विटर पे, व्हाट्सएप पे, इतना इंफॉर्मेशन ओवरलोड है. एंड ये नॉइस का मैं हमेशा बोलता हूँ कि सक्सेस के लिए लोगों को लगता है ये डेटा मिल गया, और आपको कुछ तो एंटाइसिंग आता रहता है अलग अलग. आप व्हाट्सएप ग्रुप, मेरे पास तो था ही नहीं व्हाट्सएप, अभी किया 2-3 साल पहले मैंने, मेरे पास बाकी कुछ वो ट्विटर विटर कुछ भी नहीं है. ऐसा डेटा देख के लगता है दैट यार ये तो बहुत इंटरेस्टिंग है, ये नहीं पता था. बट डेटा इज नॉट इंफॉर्मेशन, इंफॉर्मेशन इज नॉट नॉलेज, नॉलेज इज नॉट अंडरस्टैंडिंग, अंडरस्टैंडिंग इज नॉट विजडम. वेल्थ क्रिएशन होता है विजडम से, पैसा बनता है विजडम से. कोई डेटा से नहीं बनता, इंफॉर्मेशन से नहीं बनता, इन सब से नहीं बनता है. तो वो विजडम, जैसे हम लोग टॉक टू इन्वेस्टर्स बोलता हूँ, विजडम एक ही है कि वेल्थ क्रिएशन का एक ही फॉर्मूला है, वेल्थ क्रिएशन का एक ही फॉर्मूला है. वो है साउंड इन्वेस्टमेंट प्लस टाइम प्लस पेशेंस. इसमें से तीनों में से एक भी निकाल दोगे तो पैसा नहीं बनेगा. कुछ भी ट्राई कर लीजिए, चाहे चाहे कर लीजिए, मार्केट में कहीं भी दुनिया की कोई भी चीज में ट्रेड कर लीजिए, पैसे लंबे नहीं बनेंगे. बड़े पैसे तभी बनेंगे जब सही निवेश कर दिया, उसको समय दे दिया और संयम रख लिया. बस ये तीन चीज का कॉम्बिनेशन नहीं हुआ तो पैसा नहीं बनेगा. सो वो जो मैंने बोला मीडिया नॉइस, हाउ टू अवॉइड दैट, हाउ नॉट टू रिएक्ट बट रेस्पॉन्ड. क्या यार, मतलब अल्टीमेटली इससे फर्क पड़ने वाला है क्या? व्हेन पीपल टॉक अबाउट लेट्स से द जियोपॉलिटिकल रिस्क एंड ऑल, तो मैं बताऊंगा आपको 84, मैंने 82 में एक आईपीओ आया था, मैं तब मैंने स्टार्ट किया. तब से मैं देख रहा हूँ उस टाइम पे 200-300 का सेंसेक्स होएगा. अब उसके बाद हमने क्या क्या नहीं देखा 40 साल में. Actually, I never think of like this. अबे आपने पूछा और मेरे को पुराने दिन याद आ गया, and I'm seeing some of the veterans here. So 84 से वो तेजी आई, बहुत 84 में एकदम बाजार गिर गया because of the 31st October 1984, and 85 में बहुत तेजी आ गई. सो उसके बाद अगर आप देखोगे तो लाइक हमने क्या क्या नहीं देखा, हमने देखा दो प्राइम मिनिस्टर वर शॉट डेड, एक इन ऑफिस एक आउटसाइड ऑफिस. हमने वो मंडल कमीशन से लेके फर्स्ट कोalition गवर्नमेंट 89 से 91 के बीच में हमने कंट्री का गोल्ड प्लेज किया. हमारी ऐसी हालत थी, $1 बिलियन का भी रिजर्व नहीं था, कंट्री का गोल्ड प्लेज किया हमने 91 में. हमने फिर वो कोalition गवर्नमेंट्स देखी, 98 का क्राइसिस देखा, कॉल मनी रेट 100% हो गई थी, रुपी 31.37 चलता था, वहां से 40 हो गया. हमने 99 2000 का बुल मार्केट और बस देखा एकदम से, मतलब स्टॉक्स 99% गिर गिर गए पूरी दुनिया में, और हमारे यहाँ मतलब वो नास्डैक कहाँ से कहाँ चला गया, हमारा मार्केट कहाँ से कहाँ चला गया. 2008 का इतना बड़ा ग्लोबल फाइनेंशियल क्राइसिस देख लिया, 2012 का वो यूरो क्राइसिस देख लिया, 2013 का वो टेपर टेंट्रम, और क्या क्या नहीं हुआ उस साल में. इतनी बड़ी करंट अकाउंट की प्रॉब्लम, इतनी बड़ी फिजिकल प्रॉब्लम, इतनी बड़ी करेंसी, और वो सब चैलेंजेस हो गए. मतलब मैं जा सकता हूँ अभी आपको 20 में, तो अभी देखा हमने 5 साल में क्या क्या नहीं देखा है. सो फरवरी 2020 में 12,000 का निफ्टी हुआ, ऑल टाइम हाई 12,000 का. उस टाइम पे मैं आपको बोल देता कि अगले 5 साल के अंदर एक ऐसा पेंडेमिक आने वाला है जिसमें पूरी दुनिया बंद हो जाएगी, लाखों लोग अपनी जान ही दे देंगे, गंवा देंगे, और महीनों तक आपकी फैक्ट्री ऑफिस घर ऑफ सब कुछ बंद हो जाएगा, पूरी दुनिया बंद हो जाएगी. इकोनॉमिक रिसेशन आ जाएगा पूरी दुनिया में, और इंडिया ने जो आज तक नहीं देखा है वैसा रिसेशन देख लेंगे. इतना बड़ा सोशल क्राइसिस दुनिया में, इतना बड़ा जियो पॉलिटिकल क्राइसिस, हार्ट ऑफ यूरोप में सबसे बड़ी वॉर है 1945 के बाद. अरब इसराइल की आप वॉर देख लीजिए, मतलब यूएस और ईरान की वॉर, मतलब कितनी न्यूक्लियर पावर्स वर्ल्ड में कभी इतनी वॉर में नहीं गई है जो आज चल रही है. ऐसा पिछले दशकों में नहीं हुआ है. सो इंडिया पाकिस्तान न्यूक्लियर पावर्स, यू हैव ईरान इसराइल, यू हैव रशिया, यू हैव यूएस, इतनी न्यूक्लियर पावर्स आर इन कॉन्फ्लिक्ट, चाइना, ऑल ऑफ दैट. और इतना बड़ा क्लाइमेट क्राइसिस हो गया, मतलब कहीं भी बारिश हो रही है, कभी भी कुछ टेम्परेचर हो रहा है, मतलब क्या क्या नहीं देखा है. बट वो 12,000 वाला आज भी 24,000 के ऊपर है. अगर आप डलहौजी बंगलों में फार्म हाउस में जाके बैठ गए, टीवी नहीं देख रहे हो, तो पैसे डबल हो गए. मैं आपको अगर उस दिन बोल देता जाने के पहले, तो आप ही बोलते यार ये तो एचडीएफसी बैंक में डिपॉजिट ही करा देता हूँ भाई, बाजार का तो क्या होगा पता नहीं है. इलेक्शंस भी हो गए पिछले साल, पूरी दुनिया में इतनी जगह इलेक्शन हो गए, इंडिया बहुत कम कंट्रीज में है जहाँ पे सेम गवर्नमेंट वापस आई है. ज्यादातर जगह तो गवर्नमेंट्स भी चेंज हो गई, और अब आपने देखा है यूएस प्रेसिडेंट द लैंग्वेज ही टॉक्स, और उसके बाद भी मार्केट ठीक ठाक है. सो सो बहुत ज्यादा वो सब पे दिमाग लगा के बहुत फायदा नहीं होता है.
Uh, this is wonderful, and as just a power of time, power of compounding बोला इन्होंने. As you are aware, power of compounding is known as the eighth wonder of the world.
But Einstein
Yeah,
है.
Albert Einstein said power of compounding is the eighth wonder of the world. And he mentioned about wisdom is so important to hear. I'll tell you, hardcore investors, Ajit would remember late Shri Shankar Lalji Dhanuka. ठीक है, one of the most successful investors of his time, okay, in the stock markets. And he, one day I was visiting him and he was reading a book called The Wisdom of Vidur. And he said so much to learn as an investor from this book, The Wisdom of Vidur. So just to tell you, you know, in investments, from where all you can actually draw inspiration and learnings, it's very interesting. Sorry, this is Navneetji's days. Well, ladies and gentlemen, please open up with your questions. Here is Navneetji. Yes, Ajayji.
Okay, ji, thank you. Abhi, in recent years, we have seen. Hello, yeah. In recent years, we have seen significant participation of retail investors, both in direct equity as well as mutual fund, of course. So, as capital market intermediaries and participants, what line of interaction and awareness we should keep with them so that this is sustained?
बिल्कुल, yeah. So as MFI, we work very closely with the market regulator, with the policy makers, and as you know, I mean, SEBI's main objective is investor protection. At MFI, our main objective is to ensure that We focus on investor protection, we focus on transparency, we focus on building trust. मुझे लगता है अपॉर्चुनिटी इंडिया में इतनी बड़ी है अगले 25, 30, 40 साल में, हमारी लाइफ टाइम में, और हमारी जनरेशन इतनी लकी जनरेशन है दैट वी आर एट द राइट टाइम एट द राइट प्लेस. एज पीएम सेज दैट बॉस, यही समय सही समय, यही समय सही समय. ये हमारी गलती होगी कि हम इसको मिस कर दें अपॉर्चुनिटी को बनाने में भी. मतलब ऐसा नहीं कि लाइक यहाँ पे सब कुछ होगा, मेरे को फायदा उठाना है. All of us have to work hard. 1.4 billion people have to work hard to make the most of this opportunity. So we have to ensure that कुछ ऐसा नहीं करें. जब मैंने 90s के उदाहरण दिए, 80s के, इतना बड़ा मार्केट था 92 में. मैंने 85 में देखा है मार्केट, बहुत बड़ा मार्केट था, छोटा मार्केट नहीं था. ऑनेस्टली मार्केट कैप छोटा होगा, इकोनॉमी का साइज छोटा होगा, बट बहुत कंपनियां थी. 90s में कितने आईपीओ आए, कितने आईपीओ आए, मतलब हर हफ्ते वो ऐसा कितने सारे फॉर्म आए. उस टाइम तो फिजिकल फॉर्म्स आते थे, वो लिफाफे में 5-5, 7-7 कंपनियों के आईपीओ के फॉर्म आते थे, वो ड्राफ्ट बनाना पड़ता था, इतना मुश्किल काम था. फिर भी कितना आईपीओ और कितने टाइम ओवर सब्सक्राइब होता था. मुझे अच्छी तरह से याद है कि वो पोस्टमैन आके बोलता था सर बधाई हो या सॉरी. छोटा वाला लिफाफा आया तो सॉरी बोलता था, तो मतलब आपको रिफंड का ड्राफ्ट आ गया है. बड़ा लिफाफा आया मतलब अलॉटमेंट आ गया, तो सर बधाई हो. मेरे को हमेशा ध्यान है, पोस्टमैन बोलता है तो बधाई हो, बड़ा लिफाफा है, या सर सॉरी सर छोटा लिफाफा है, मतलब अलॉटमेंट नहीं आया. वो टाटा टिमकेन 4000 टाइम्स हो गया था एंड ऑल ऑफ दैट. मतलब ऐसा हमारा मार्केट था. फिर हमने कहीं ना कहीं तो गलती करी, वो ट्रस्ट नहीं बना, तब जाकर के इन्वेस्टर थोड़े वापस निकल गए. What we have to do this time is that India is going back where we were hundreds of years back, honestly. और ये एक बहुत मिथ है कि इंडियंस आर रिस्क एवर्स. ये बहुत बड़ा मिथ है कि इंडियंस आर एक्चुअली रिस्क सीकिंग. मतलब आप समझो, केरला में लाखों आदमी लॉटरी खरीदे तो उनको पता है लाखों में से एक आदमी का पैसा बनना है, फिर भी हर आदमी कर रहे हैं. अब गेमिंग एप्स पे देखोगे तो करोड़ों लोग खेल रहे हैं, जहाँ पे किसी का ही तो हो रहा है. एफ एंड ओ में आप देख लीजिए. वॉट वी हैव टू डू इज नेविगेट देम इन द राइट डायरेक्शन थ्रू द राइट एजुकेशन, राइट एम्पावरमेंट, राइट एनलाइटनमेंट, एंड गलत नहीं होने दें. आई थिंक कैपिटल मार्केट में जितने भी लोग हैं, हम सबके कलेक्टिव रेस्पॉन्सिबिलिटी है. देखो कई बार क्या होता है, मैं हमारी कंपनी बोलता रहता हूँ कभी भी कि यार 5 मोस्ट डेंजरस वर्ड्स हैं, एवरीवन एल्स इज डूइंग इट. कई बार ऐसा होता है ना यार, बट एवरीवन एल्स इज डूइंग इट, यार सब लोग कर रहे हैं तो हम भी कर रहे हैं. वेदर यू आर अ मर्चेंट बैंकर, वेदर यू आर अ स्टॉक ब्रोकर, वेदर यू आर एन एसेट मैनेजर, वेदर यू आर अ डिस्ट्रीब्यूटर, वेदर यू आर एन एडवाइजर, आप कोई भी कैपेसिटी में अगर कैपिटल मार्केट में, तो 5 वर्ड यूज मत करो. सब लोग कर रहे हैं, हम भी कर रहे हैं. आप करो जो क्लाइंट के लिए सही है. इन्वेस्टर का ट्रस्ट बनना चाहिए. अब अभी हम डिस्कस कर रहे थे अबाउट लाइक कैपिटल रेजिंग. यूँ सेइंग कि कोई कंपनी ने अप्रोच किया कि यार आप हमारा लिस्टिंग करवा दो. तो इन्होंने बोला भाई लिस्टिंग करके पैसे का क्या करना है, तो बोले नहीं पैसा मिल रहा है तो हम रेस कर लेते हैं. पर वो तो नहीं होना चाहिए. एक वो मूवी है स्पाइडरमैन, जिसमें पीटर पार्कर कहता है विद पावर कम्स रेस्पॉन्सिबिलिटी, विद पावर कम्स रेस्पॉन्सिबिलिटी. मैं हमेशा बोलता हूँ विद कैपिटल कम्स ग्रेटर रेस्पॉन्सिबिलिटी. आप अगर पब्लिक का पैसा रेस कर रहे हो, यू हैव टू हैव अ डीप सेंस ऑफ रेस्पॉन्सिबिलिटी. आपको रात को एक ही ध्यान रहना चाहिए, यार ये किसी दूसरे का पैसा है. Whether you are raising equity capital, whether you are raising debt capital, whether you are raising anything of somebody else's money, आपका घर का नहीं है. सो अगर एवरी entrepreneur thinks like that कि यार किसी दूसरे का पैसा है, विश्वास नहीं टूट जाए. हर ब्रोकर ये सोच रहा है मेरे क्लाइंट को मैं ऐसा नहीं करूँ कि उसका विश्वास टूट जाए. हर इन्वेस्टर का भी तभी विश्वास, जब विश्वास बनेगा. सोचो आप, ये जो मैंने आपको $38 बिलियन की एसआईपी बुक बोली, ये खाली 5.5 करोड़ इन्वेस्टर है. 5.5 करोड़ है अभी. 10 करोड़ लोगों के पास तो पासपोर्ट होगा इंडिया के अंदर. मतलब 75 करोड़ पैन आई थिंक अकाउंट है, शायद 75 करोड़. ये नंबर क्या बन सकता है अगले 10, 15, 20 सालों में, हमारा मार्केट क्या बन सकता है अगले 10, 15 सालों में, प्रोवाइडेड हम गलती नहीं करें. और वो उसमें ऐसा नहीं है कि यार कोई करेगा मेरे को क्या है, ऐसा नहीं होना चाहिए. आई थिंक ऑल ऑफ अस हैव टू कलेक्टिवली एंश्योर. दैट्स व्हाई आई थिंक पीपल हु आर इन चेंबर ऑफ कॉमर्स, पीपल हु आर इन any of the broker association, mutual fund association, REIT association, whatever, any association and all, it's a collective responsibility. And we have to, like हमने एमफी में ethics committee setup करी. अभी कोई बोलेगा यार हमारे तो ऑलरेडी रेगुलेशन वेल डिफाइंड है, इतनी एमफी की ऑलरेडी बेस्ट प्रैक्टिसेस हैं, इतना डिस्क्लोजर और ट्रांसपेरेंसी है, उसके ऊपर एथिक्स कमेटी क्यों चाहिए. बट हमारा आइडिया कि नहीं, विल टेक इट टू अ डिफरेंट लेवल एल टुगेदर. विल टेक द ट्रस्ट ऑफ इन्वेस्टर्स टू अ वेरी डिफरेंट लेवल वेयर इन्वेस्टर फील लॉट मोर कॉन्फिडेंट कि यार आई एम गिविंग मनी टू समवन, इट विल बी टेकन केयर ऑफ एट एन इंडस्ट्री लेवल. तो कलेक्टिव रेस्पॉन्सिबिलिटी है हमारी. तो मैं एक ही चीज बोलता हूँ सब जगह पे, एंश्योर करो कि किसी का विश्वास नहीं टूटे. हमारे दादाजी ऐसे मजाक में बोलते थे कि मारवाड़ी में बोल रहा हूँ बिकॉज बहुत लोग समझ सकते हैं, क्यों बैठे हो सेठ जी उदासी, बोले ग्राहक नहीं मिले कोई विश्वासी. बिकॉज वो
वाह.
विश्वास वाला नहीं मिला, इसलिए शायद मैं विश्वास वाला होगा तो ही मैं पैसा बना सकता हूँ। आज मैं किसी को चीट कर लूंगा, बट मैं विश्वास बिल्ड करूंगा तो उसको भी अच्छा लगेगा कि सेठ जी आप पैसे बनाओगे तो ही दुकान चालू रहेगी, मेरा भी काम चलेगा, आपका भी काम चलेगा। द सेकंड, बिकॉज आई जो रिमाइंडेड ऑफ दैट, so my grandfather always used to say, मैं सेबी की ESG कमेटी चेयर करी पहले, आई टेक डीप प्राइड एंड एनवायरमेंट सोशल एंड गवर्नेंस अभी भी हूँ मैं स्टैंडिंग कमेटी का चेयर। तो मैं वो बोलता हूँ यार ये सब यूरोप यूएस से नहीं सीखना है हमको, एनवायरनमेंट सोशल गवर्नेंस तो हमारे तो ब्लड में है, एनवायरनमेंट सर्कुलरिटी हमारे ब्लड में है, सोशल हमारे ब्लड में है, गवर्नेंस हमारे ब्लड में है। तो आई कोट दैट इनफॉर्मली व्हेन आई मीट बिजनेस कम्युनिटी दैट माय ग्रैंडफादर यूज्ड टू से कि किसकी पुण्यवानी से पैसा आता है अपने को पता नहीं है। तो हर एक का ध्यान रखना, मतलब अपने को पता नहीं अपन जो पैसा कमा रहे हैं, दुकान चल रही है वो ड्राइवर की तकदीर से चल रही है कि मुनीम की तकदीर से चल रही है, कि वो जो चाय दे रहा है उसकी तकदीर से चल रही है, कि वो जो मतलब पुताई करने आ रहा है उसकी तकदीर से चल रही है। सो द पॉइंट वॉज दिस इज स्टेक होल्डर कैपिटलिज्म, वो जिसको बोलते हैं ना दैट सबका साथ सबका विश्वास है, आप बोलो बहुजन हिताय बहुजन सुखाय। Businesses for generations have done well where it was very deep in them that we exist for everyone. That's why we were called Seth, because you are the Shresh, because you take care of everyone. I'll take care of the government, I'll pay taxes, I'll take care of my employees, I'll take care of my equity holders, take care of my debt holders, I'll take care of my local community, I'll take care of the environment there, I'll take care. जिन्होंने उस तरह से बिल्ड किया ना वो बहुत बड़े हो गए, वो बहुत बड़े हो गए। जिन्होंने नहीं करा वो कहीं ना कहीं सेकेंड जनरेशन थर्ड जनरेशन में रह गए, बिकॉज दे स्टार्टेड थिंकिंग अबाउट देमसेल्व्स। इफ यू आर इन कैपिटल मार्केट रेजिंग एक्सटर्नल मनी, यू हैव टू फर्स्ट थिंग हैज टू बी इन योर ब्लड, इन योर डीएनए, दैट समबडी एल्सेस मनी। हमारा ग्रुप के आप देखो, मतलब एस टी पारेख सेटअप, उनके पास कुछ नहीं था। इट्स नॉट लाइक ही कुड हैव पुट 10%, उस टाइम तो कैपिटल नहीं लगानी थी, कहीं से बोरो करके लगा देते। ऑफ कोर्स लाइक एस चेयरमैन दीपक पारेख सेज दैट में हमारे पास तो पैसा भी नहीं था। लोगों को लगता है कई लोगों के यार उनकी कंपनी होगी उनका बैंक होगा, उनके पास तो हार्डली कुछ, नॉट इवन लाइक 1% स्टेक था। बट ये हमारे अंदर बहुत डीप है कि यार बॉस हमारा शेयर होल्डर कोई और है, हम उनके लिए काम कर रहे हैं। और जब उनके लिए कर रहे हैं, उनके लिए तभी अच्छा कर सकते हैं जब हमारे कस्टमर के लिए अच्छा कर रहे हैं। तो चाहे वो हाउसिंग कंपनी थी तो यार बॉस मोर्टगेज वाले का भी ध्यान रखो, डिपॉजिटर का भी ध्यान रखो, बैंकर का भी ध्यान रखो। सबका रखेंगे तो शेयर होल्डर का ध्यान रखो, अल्टीमेटली अपने ओनर शेयर होल्डर है। That thinking has to be very, very critical. I gave a longer answer because this is very important. This is what I travel across the country and I only say that. What we have to do is we don't allow trust to be broken. Government का trust अगर break हो गया तो सोचो हम 10 साल पीछे जा सकते हैं कभी भी। If we do some excesses, then government has to take action. पॉलिसी मेकर्स हैव टू टेक एक्शन। कई बार बोलते हैं यार ये कैसे कर सकते हैं, रेगुलेटर ने ऐसा कर दिया, क्योंकि हमने कहीं ना कहीं गलती कर दी। अगर हम गलती नहीं करेंगे, आई थिंक अगर एक कदम सही चलेंगे, आई थिंक वो लोग 3 कदम साथ में अपने साथ चलते जाएंगे। सॉरी फॉर अ लॉन्गर आंसर बट दिस वाज वेरी इंपॉर्टेंट। अगर मेरे को एक ही मैसेज छोड़ना होता ना ऑन इकोनॉमी मार्केट्स ये सब पे, तो मैं एक ही मैसेज छोड़ता। अगर हमने ये सही कर लिया ना तो बॉस मतलब अपसाइड इतनी बड़ी है अगले 20-25 साल में दैट वी कैनॉट इवन इमेजिन।
Yes. Any other question? That was wonderful, Naveen ji. But any other question? Somebody else on this side? We Miss Seth की बात करें तो Mr. Seth, any question? Okay. This side? No, I think people are. Huh? Yes, 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 yes.
मैं बोल रहा था मिस्टर श्रेष्ठ भी है।
हाँ, और श्रेष्ठ भी हैं.
Navneet, my question to you is a contradiction. I mean, you can see I am representing the MSME. I'm seeing in the market last few years the returns, middle class returns, as you were talking about small investors, is pretty good. I mean, I have talked to friends who are in the service sector who are on jobs. Now, I'm seeing a lot of small businessmen, maybe with age, if we put them in MSME, they are now winding up and going into stock and investments. Do you think the rise of the investment market could bring in a detrimental effect on small and medium industries?
नो नॉट एट ऑल। आई थिंक वो इंडिया का लाइफलाइन है, वो इंडिया का, आई मीन दी एमएसएमईज एसएमईज। आज जो भी बड़ी कंपनी है वो कहीं ना कहीं तो एसएमई थी, कहीं ना कहीं तो एमएसएमई थी। यू लुक एट द लार्जेस्ट ऑफ द कंपनीज एंड सी द रूट्स वेयर देयर बिगनिंग वाज। एंड जो ऐसा बोलते हैं कि बड़े बड़े बनते जाएंगे, तो आप 80s की सबसे बड़ी देख लीजिए, उसमें से कितने बड़े रह गए। आप अर्ली 90s की सबसे बड़ी देख लीजिए, कौन सी सारी टेक्सटाइल मिल्स बची है। ऐसा तो है नहीं कि इंडिया में कोई टेक्सटाइल पर कैपिटा कंजम्पशन कम हो गया, whatever. तो वो बिजनेस का एक रूप चेंज होता रहता है. There will be like many businesses that will thrive, newer businesses will come. Suddenly you see this whole electronics ecosystem because of many things, supply chain, China plus one, PLI, supportive thing that is getting developed. There are many other industries. In chemicals, we were very good. Then suddenly we had a long period of tough time, and suddenly now there are many opportunities emerging there. India has shown good results in auto and auto related, the entire ecosystem of ancillaries. We have seen that in pharmaceuticals, and I'm sure there'll be many interesting cases. In light engineering, India has a lot of potential. Anything which is, I think, both, whether it's labor intensive or whether it's tech intensive, over the next several years. मैं आपको एक data point देता हूँ. In next 20-25 years, 200 million people will go out of China's workforce because they will age. 200 million people will get added in India because of the age, right? So we'll have 20 crore new people joining here, the workforce. They will lose 20 crore people. Now it's up to us. How do we make the most of that opportunity? And again, I think it's up to the each and every entrepreneur. We have seen these changes. मैं जब 90s की बात कर रहा था IPO की, तो every फ्यू मंथ्स में एक वेव चलता था. लाइक एक वो जब एक्वाकल्चर कंपनी आ रही थी तो एक साथ 10 IPO, वो जब ग्रेनाइट एंड मार्बल कंपनी, वो 20 IPO आ जाते थे. सडनली 100% EOU कॉटन आर्ट, तो वैसे 20 IPO आ जाते थे. कभी वो मिनी स्टील, तो 15-20 IPO आ जाते थे. मिनी सीमेंट 15-20. एवरीबडी ट्राइज टू डू दैट, but there were many who did something interesting, build the competitive advantage. They've done very well, so I feel very bullish. I think
No,
Indian Auto are very hard working.
Navneet ji, I think his question was a little
Did I-
reverse of.
I didn't get
No,
you.
it was a little reverse. He's saying people are selling their businesses and becoming
Oh, investors.
investors, and also, you know what Mr. Uday Kotak also mentioned about that issue.
Yeah.
In case,
How much time should 2-3 minutes?
yeah. So okay,
Correct.
this could be the last question before we open up for the media also, in case they would like to ask you anything.
Because I
Yeah,
think
yeah.
they are checking the time to airport.
So okay, yeah.
No, you are right. And in fact, in some other context, I was telling him that, oh no, not him. I think I met somebody else in the afternoon. And the business families I meet, I encourage the next generation to build businesses, to build this country, and not to be a passive investor alone. I mean, we are not that because our vested interest कि हम professional fund manager है, आप हमारे को दे दीजिए. But on a genuine basis, I think that the family money that you want to invest, I mean, you're the professional fund managers, you have the capability, you have the ability to build businesses. Why don't you build? And I love families where the next generation is saying that we will take it to the higher level. The opportunity size is so big, the world is looking at India. So there are families and there are families. A lot of people are kind of giving up, selling it to a private equity or someone because they think that next generation doesn't have the interest. But I think the families who will kind of like get in, there is tremendous opportunity. Yeah. One should not
Thank you.
get too lured that we'll only invest in the market and we won't run our business and sell it to someone else. But then there are a lot of people who will come from a small town India, and you'll see that they're buying, and with the support of a private equity or some investor like us, they will again create many interesting examples.
Thank you, Navneet ji. I would request friends from our media also, in case you can ask questions right now, it will be good, because he'll be in a rush. And his answers, we will also get benefited with that.
I hope you don't get any. I mean, because I'm speaking from heart and you don't context me. I mean, quote me out of context. I didn't even realize that
Yeah.
media in the room. I thought there are all.
All are responsible, sir.
Then I'm sure they
Yeah,
are all your
yeah.
friends and supporter of the chamber.
Valuation. Valuation is high.
No.
Do you think that the valuation?
No, I didn't say the valuation is high.
Profit of the corporates.
No, I didn't say the valuation is high. I explained the valuation between the large, mid, and small cap. I didn't say the valuation is high. Valuation always has to be seen in the context of where you are in macro, where you are in corporate profit cycle, and what the liquidity and sentiments are. And in that context, I gave the explanation of what we think about large cap, what we think about mid cap, and what we think about small cap. Please don't say that I said valuation is high. Yeah.
Yeah, so he was mentioning relatively,
I can use a
because
markets
mid
are like,
cap has only 150 stocks.
markets are fairly priced, I would say. I mean, maybe, but
Yeah.
from a longer term perspective, I have no view on short term of the market. Yeah. I'm really sorry. I have a flight and
Yeah,
और नागपुर की
Last
flight है तो
one question. You track obviously hundreds of companies, and from
my
this-
fund manager.
Yes,
but
of course.
yeah.
So, which are the business sectors, and you're not per se companies, which are the segments of the industry you think are doing well? Because we know the
I
consumption
think it's
is not
more
very-
about,
very
I think it's
well-
more about individual companies rather than sectors. I mean,
Okay.
we talked about, I mean, the place in the context, not that I'm giving any name of the stock and I don't even know whether we own or not own. But I mean, one cement company versus other cement company, one bank versus other bank, you can see in every sector, the companies that have built competitive advantage have the right kind of governance, the management, I think the business model they have built, where they are versus a lot of other companies in the same sector. Our focus as a house is always on bottom of stock picking. Identify good business, run by good management, available at reasonable valuation. It sounds like cliche, but that's what our fund managers do all the time. But thank you so much. And
It
cannot-
8 minutes. We have to do the formalities of.
Sir, we are truly honored to have Sri Munot address us this afternoon. We would now like to present a few mementos to our guest in chief. May I request our president, Sri Pachesia, to do the honors, please.
Yeah.
Oh, thank you so very much. Oh,
Durga Puja ki.
of course. Yes.
Thank you so much.
And
We will conclude today's session with a vote of thanks by Sri Achut Chandra, Chairman, MSME Subcommittee of the Chamber.
Well, Navneet had very good things to say about Bengal and its history. And if we go back, one of the supposed to be biggest financiers transition from Mughal to English regime was Jagat Seth. Anyway, ladies and gentlemen, at the end of today's exclusive session on economy, markets, and the road ahead, it is my most pleasant duty to propose a very hearty vote of thanks to our esteemed speaker, Sri Navneet Munot, Chairman, Association of Mutual Funds in India, Managing Director and Chief Executive Officer, HDFC Asset Management Company Limited, for addressing us today on such an important subject. The evolving dynamics of the Indian economy and financial markets present both unprecedented opportunities and critical challenges. As businesses chart their course in this fast-changing environment, issues such as regulatory compliance, market volatility, liquidity management, and policy shifts can significantly impact decision-making and long-term growth strategies. A clear understanding of these factors is essential to navigate the road ahead with resilience and foresight. I am confident that today's exclusive session has offered valuable perspective on the emerging economy and market trends, equipping our members with strategic insights and analytical tools needed to adapt, innovate, and thrive in this transformative era. I must thank members of the committee, members of the chamber, and guests for making it convenient to attend to this exclusive session. With these words, I request all of you to join me in carrying a hearty vote of thanks to our esteemed speaker, Sri Navneet Munot, and appreciation network.
thank you.